Hi everyone, today I'm going to be making banana bread. So first I'm going to set out my 2 eggs in my half a cup of unsalted butter, which is 1 stick of butter. I'm going to set them out and make sure they are room temperature. You always want to make sure your ingredients are room temperature when you're baking your product. So set those out before you start anything, and then I'm going to combine my flour, baking soda, and salt into one bowl, and they want you to sift and measure out all your ingredients, which I 100% agree with. When you are measuring out your ingredients, I say this in every video, make sure you get a big cup of it. You use a knife or any kind of flat tool that you may have. I use the upside down of a knife, so not where the blade is at, the other side of it. I take off the excess flour, baking soda, whatever dry product. I take off the excess and then make sure I have a complete flat surface on my measuring cup, and then I pour it into my mixing bowl. It's super important to do this. You want to make sure that your product is precise when you're baking. It's not like cooking. Once you throw it in the oven, game over. The product is done. It's not like cooking where you can kind of do little tricks to fix your product. Yeah, so you got to make sure it's precise. You also want to make sure you're sifting out your ingredients, because sifting is really useful. You don't want to bite into a chunk of flour when you are eating your banana bread. I didn't have a sifter because I was at my aunt's house, but I end up sifting them at the end. I thought it'd be easier, and it was easier because she doesn't have a lot of baking tools, so I had to work with what I had. So I had like a very tiny sifter, so I sifted them at the end of the video. So I'm combining all that together. The next thing that the recipe calls me to do, and I'm not really sure why they have me do this, I guess just because they wanted me to pre-beat the egg. So I whisked the egg and the vanilla extract into a bowl, and I just made sure that that was really whisked together. I actually had, in culinary program, we did a whole lesson, a whole 8-hour day lab of eggs. We had to learn how to whisk an egg, how to beat an egg, how to fry an egg, how to scramble an egg, how to poach an egg. I mean, so I have a whole knowledge on eggs, which people think is so simple, which they are, but there's actually some science to eggs. So combine all that together, make sure you whisk it well. They are also going to have you butter your pan. So I just use a softened stick of butter and I smear it all over my baking sheet. There's a lot of different ways when you're baking. What I learned in culinary school was you could do parchment paper, you could do the spray. The spray is gross, don't use that. But you know, some people do flour and butter. But if I'm not making this big, beautiful cake, you know, and all the science behind that, like baking banana bread's so easy. I'm just, okay, doing bread or doing butter all over the pan it's easy, it's simple, it's good enough. It's not gonna, your bread's not gonna stick to your loaf pan. So just smear butter all over, and they're gonna have you cream your butter and your sugar. The reason why this is important, creaming butter and sugar helps to give your baked good structure by beating air into the butter, and the sugar helps to hold that air. So you want to beat at a low speed with the KitchenAid paddle, not a whisk, with a paddle. So you really want to make sure you cream that together in a separate third bowl. It's really important to do that. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'll just combine them all together. No, no, no. This is a important science behind baking, and this is why people don't like baking, because it is precise and it is, you know, very particular in the steps and all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, it will give you a moist product. So I didn't have a paddle though. Like I said, I had to work with what I had. So I just kind of whisked my butter and sugar, and I just made sure it was a creamy consistency. As you can kind of see, I had my butter softened, but it wasn't as soft as I liked it to be. So I just kept whisking, and it ended up being a really soft creamed butter. And then I added in my eggs and my vanilla into that bowl, and I mixed that together. And for some reason, they don't have you pre-mash your bananas. I don't know why, but they don't. So I just peeled the bananas off and threw them in there. Another little tip, when I was doing my dry ingredients, they did not include any like seasonings into it, but I just wanted to include cinnamon in mine. So when I was pouring in all my dry ingredients, I actually put a half teaspoon of cinnamon. The recipe doesn't call for it, but it's amazing to have that hint of cinnamon taste in your banana bread. Next time I think I'll try putting nutmeg in too, and maybe some allspice. I'll have to kind of play with my seasonings, but banana bread is so versatile. I wanted to do like walnuts and pecans and chocolate chips, but my aunt was like, no, just do simple banana bread, and I was making this for her, so. But it's cool. You can play around with however you want. So this is how I sifted out my ingredients. I had to combine it all in a big bowl. I had like this little spoon. I poured it into my tiny little sifter, and I just sifted away into the wet ingredient bowl, and I just kind of mixed it all together, and that's how I made it. I mean, you got to work with what you got, right? Um, so the recipe tells you to fold in your ingredients. So after my ingredients were mixed, I just folded in my dry ingredients into my wet, because you creamed all that butter and sugar. You don't want to lose that air. So you're just going to fold it in, and once it's combined, done, good enough. Just pour it into that loaf pan and throw it into the oven. You're going to preheat your oven. I forgot to preheat my oven, but I eventually did. I preheated it and it was ready to go. So you're preheating your oven to 350 degrees, by the way. Thankfully, my oven preheats super quick. So I set the timer for 50 minutes. The recipe calls for 55 minutes, but I kind of just always like to shoot under just to see, and then I put a knife through, see how clean it comes out. It came out moist. It wasn't wet, so I knew it was ready. The best part is to try your product. Always try it. You have to do a taste test before you serve it to other people, because if it's bad, I did not make it. So I took it out, and it was really moist on the inside, but it kind of had this crispy outer layer. Not burnt. It wasn't burnt, but it was just a little crispy in it. It had a little crunch, so it was really nice. And then I put a slab of butter on it, of course. Who doesn't love butter? A little hint or a little trick, if I were you, I would do like a cinnamon sugar butter. That is delicious, and slab that onto your banana bread. It'd be a great holiday gift that you can give to your family and friends. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. There's going to be a lot more videos to come, and I will link the recipe in the description box. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy.